From 1955 to 1980, there was a downtown Riverside, California club that made its mark on the Inland Empire music scene. It was first known as the Gasser and later the Squeeze. The building housing the club was located near 5th and Main Streets, about a half block north of the iconic Mission Inn Hotel. In an earlier incarnation, the building was used as the Riverside offices of the Southern California Gas Company. By 1955, the business moved and the building later became a nightclub. When the club took over the space, it was logically called the Gasser. By the 1970s, the venue was serving up a regular dose of rock and funk dance bands. For example, this 1971 appearance of the Redlands band Bones, which was a later incarnation of another Redlands band, the Peppermint Trolley Company. Riverside's mock 1950s group Sterno and the Flames made their fair share of appearances at the club, like this one in 1972. Buster Bump was another regular band at the Gasser. The group featured a virtual who's who lineup of IE musicians, including at various times Gary Brewington, Jim Erickson, Mike Escalante, Ella Falk, Alan Fitzgerald, Alan Gregory, Glenn Myerscough, Ray Perez, and Steve Tavallone. This was a 1973 appearance. This 5/6/73 San Bernardino Sun newspaper story by Henry Mendoza reviewed many Inland Empire music venues. The article described the Gasser as a club that offers live entertainment and some of the most unusual but unpretentious decor in Riverside. It is primarily a beer drinking place that admits girls 18 and guys 21. Sawdust and peanut shells cover the floor, and clutter covers the walls. A live rock band is featured. Occasionally, recording artists appear. There is just enough room to sit, watch, drink, and dance, but not enough room to do all of these. Since the club sold alcohol, ads running in the local college newspapers made it clear that guys had to be 21 years old, but girls were admitted if they were 18. In addition to females and beer, the third enticement was a steady supply of live bands for dancing. Liquor licensing problems and other issues resulted in the club closing in 1976. For a time it became a country and western venue, but that didn't pan out, and the club again closed its doors. Enter longtime IE musician, bass player-singer Jeff Nicholson. Jeff had been a part of the Inland Empire music scene since the early 1970s. For a time he was a member of the Justice Brothers, an IE band led by Fontana's Sammy Hagar. In the mid-1970s, Nicholson was a member of a popular IE cover band by the name of Squeeze, not to be confused with the UK band of the same name. Jeff Nicholson went under the stage name of Nicky Six, not to be confused with the Motley Crue bass player Frank Ferrana, a.k.a. Nicky Six. In a 1980s biographical pamphlet, Nicholson wrote, "I had decided that my name was too plain and I needed a stage name. Since my last name is Nicholson, I thought I would call myself Nicky, but I couldn't think of a last name to go with it. Then, one day, as I was driving in Newport Beach, I saw the name Nicky Six on a license plate of a Mercedes. So, for the next 5 years of my life, I was Nicky Six. But how did Frank Ferrana become the second Nicky Six?" Continuing in the pamphlet, Nicholson revealed, "A few years later, Frank started dating a girl who had earlier taken pictures of Squeeze. One day he opened her photo album, saw the pictures, and took an interest in my stage name. After finding out that I wasn't playing music at the time, he decided to use it for himself. He later acknowledged this in a BAM magazine. In any case, he's welcome to the name." The Gasser Club owner offered the Squeeze Group a gig as the house band and changed the venue's name to Squeeze's Place in the summer of 1977. A younger audience was sought, so the sale of alcohol was suspended. The sign out in front now advertised Squeeze's place as a rock and roll teen club. In a spring 1978 interview, club manager Mike Blackwood spoke of the new direction the club was taking. His intention was to offer a comfortable, high-class venue with a dress code. "We want people with manners, not jerks," he said. In addition to bands, he was also looking to book magicians, comedians, and variety acts. However, in the summer of 1978, the members of Squeeze went their separate ways. The rock and roll teen club concept wasn't working, so a new direction was taken to shed its image as a teeny bopper club. Squeeze bass player Jeff Nicholson was offered the position of general manager and booker of the club. When Squeeze's place became the Squeeze in late 1978, it embarked on one of the most ambitious band booking policies of any Inland Empire club. With Jeff Nicholson at the helm, he rolled the dice and was determined to make the Squeeze a major player in the Southern California nightclub market. One of Nicholson's early booking successes took place on December 19, 1978. On that night, he presented the then unsigned band, The Knack. At this time, they were some 6 months away from the release of their breakthrough #1 single, My Sharona. Also on the bill were two Inland Empire bands, the Bullet Boys and the Press. The Knack's December 1978 appearance was so successful that they were re-signed for a $225.79 return engagement. Nicholson's booking policy was quite simple. In this flyer, he explained that Monday was blues night, Tuesday was new wave night, Wednesday through Saturday nights were for local hard rock bands. On Sundays, touring bands appearing in LA were booked if they had an open date. Blues Night mainly featured Riversider Rod Piazza and his group, the Chicago Flying Saucer Band. Another blues band to appear regularly was the Hollywood Fats Band. In an article appearing in the 2879 issue of UCR's Highlander newspaper, Nicholson said the club was refurnished in order to give it a more professional atmosphere. He said the dress code and age limit were enforced because Riverside was a conservative community and he wanted to assure the club drew a more sophisticated audience. University of California Riverside KUCR radio station general manager Louis Vandenberg had a mixed reaction to the club. He said, "One night the sound will be excellent, and the next it will be atrocious." But he felt that the new wave acts presented at the club had been generally good. He even expressed an interest in broadcasting some of the new wave shows on the UCR radio station. February 13th, Jimi Hendrix tribute group Randy Hanson's Machine Gun appeared. His performance was reviewed positively in the Sun newspaper. A March 13th, 1979 concert featuring LA bands X, The Germs, and Rhino 39 generated some negative press for the Squeeze. In the 4/8/79 edition of The Sun, staff writer Mark Lindahl wrote, "In the Squeeze, a Riverside nightclub, a police confrontation occurred when the Germs, a punk rock band, refused to leave the stage after the club management asked them to do so. Riverside police officers were called in to stop the show. Officers escorted the band out of the club and arrested 2 audience members." "These guys aren't new wave, they're punk rock," said Nikki Six, manager of the club. "I called the police in because our sound equipment was in danger, and I didn't want the Germs to play forever." Six continued, "The Germs were rude. They called people names. They were knocking the mics around and the PA on the floor. The equipment was in danger, so I turned the power off. Then when I turned my back, someone turned the power back on. When I told them they weren't going to be paid, they told me they were going to play until they wanted to stop, he said. Six also said the Germs incident was an isolated event in his Tuesday night New Wave shows, and he has not encountered any other problems like it. I have more chance for a fight on one of our regular Friday night rock shows, he said. John Doe, leader of X, never reached the stage that night. His band was scheduled to perform after the Germs, but after the police arrived, the club closed for the night. He said the management did not handle the situation correctly. I think he, Six, overreacted. The Germs bit was all part of the show. So what if some equipment was knocked over? We used some of our own equipment for a lot of gigs, and you can't hurt it too bad, Doe said. In a 4/1/79 interview with Sun newspaper staff writer Mark Lindahl, Six said, I want to put this club on the same circuit as the Whiskey, the Troubadour, the Starwood, and the Golden Bear. There is no other club in the area that's doing it. From his office/living quarters in the club's basement, he added, Our New Wave night is certainly our most successful night. People are attracted to it because it's the new thing in rock, Six said. An April 10, 1979 concert by LA bands The Dickies and Fear was reviewed in the San Bernardino newspaper. Sun staff writer Mark Lindahl wrote, Combine the Ramones with the Marx Brothers, the Sex Pistols with Soupy Sales, and you'll get the Dickies, the most energetic and wacky punk new wave band in L.A. The Tuesday night audience was modest but enthusiastic. The Dickies' performance might have stooped to a gong show level of bad taste and ludicrousy if it had not been for the band's keen sense of rock and roll drive. Opening the show was Fear, a more or less typical punk outfit that had an attractive, irreverent attitude, but which lacked either arresting musicianship or an original direction. As the evening wore on, their set wore thin. In a spring 1979 interview, Jeff Nicholson, a.k.a. Nicky Six, said experimentalism is what we are looking for in the club's format. Although the club has now been receiving publicity from such publications as the San Bernardino Sun-Telegram, BAM magazine, UCR's Highlander, and a recent article in the LA Times calendar section, which quoted Doug Weston, owner of the Troubadour, as saying, Squeezes is one of the 6 best rock clubs in the Southern California area. There is, however, still a lack of attendance, which Six attributes to a reputation for being a teeny bopper club. People think it's a kiddie club, which was caused by the fact that when we originally opened Squeezes Place, we let in all ages and didn't serve alcohol. Besides trying to revise the club's reputation, the article reported, the other changes that have taken place at the club include installing a lighting system, PA system, new carpets, crushed velvet stage curtains, wood paneling, and a downstairs exit to the stage leading to newly installed dressing rooms. In May, Nicholson's old band Squeeze reformed and played a few dates at the club. In late June, an all-Inland Empire band lineup played the Squeeze on Riverside New Wave Night. The Bullet Boys, Neophonics, and Neo Paris and the Futures kept it all IE. July 1979 was a fairly busy month for the Squeeze. In terms of star power, it was perhaps one of the club's greatest months. On 7/10/79, UK punk band 999 headlined over LA punk band Fear and IE band the Neophonics. Formed in the mid-1970s, 999's biggest chart success in the UK was the single Homicide. Booking one of the original UK punk bands for New Wave Night was prestigious for the Squeeze. Naturally, the concert was a highly anticipated event. 999 formed in 1976. Despite the passage of over 45 years, the band is still recording music and touring. They are one of the longest-lasting of the initial wave of UK punk outfits. Friday, July 20th, featured LA metal band Quiet Riot. At this time, legendary guitarist Randy Rhoads was a member. In September, he would leave to join Ozzy Osbourne's group. However, Jeff Nicholson was not impressed with Quiet Riot. He was quoted as telling them, "You're the worst excuse for a rock and roll band that I've ever seen," as he flung their earnings at them in disgust. On July 24th, X returned to the Squeeze. Punk bands opening the concert were LA's The Flyboys and Orange County's The Crowd. Unlike X's March appearance at the Squeeze, this time the performance of Billy Zoom, John Doe, DJ Bonebreak, and Exene Cervenka went off without any outside interference by the Riverside City Police Department. An all-Inland Empire band lineup played on August 26th, featuring the Mechanics, the Press, and the Reactors. September 11th, 1979, saw an appearance by Akron, Ohio's Rubber City Rebels with the Press. A 9/30/79 article by Sun staff writer Mark Lundahl contained some rather ominous news for fans of the Squeeze. He wrote, "After nearly a year with an ambitious original music format that included blues and new wave music, as well as regular rock shows, the Squeeze plans to expand its programming to include fusion jazz and some bluegrass. But the Squeeze is in a financial bind, and to keep the club on its feet, entertainment director Nikki Sixx is planning a series of benefit concerts in October. Among the benefit shows was one on October 13th featuring the Pop, the Bullet Boys, and the Model. And on October 14th, rock and roll hustler Kim Fowley presented the Orchids, the Popsicles, and Tommy Rock. On the horizon were Pearl Harbor and the Explosions and the Dead Kennedys. Despite the benefit concerts, the end of the Squeeze came on December 11th, 1979, after a lightly attended appearance by horn band Tower of Power. It was to be the last concert at the club, after which it was shut down by the owner. By the end of the year, club manager Jeff Nicholson was out of the picture. Also gone was his adventurous booking policies. He was replaced by the son of the club's financial backer, soon to be replaced by his younger brother. The club's name was changed to the Ash Grove Riverside. In a January 1980 newspaper interview, the owner blamed poor management and the club's musical format for the failure of the Squeeze. The club owner's closing quote in the article was rather tasteless. "This part of the country isn't ready for that kind of queer music," he said. Good management wouldn't have booked that kind of music. It just attracted a sleazy crowd with no money. After the Squeeze closed, other clubs emerged in the IE as places to showcase new wave and punk rock music. 3 of them were The Beat in San Bernardino and the Ritz and Spanky's Cafe in Riverside. Today, the building that once housed the Squeeze is but a memory. Most of the block was demolished, a victim of downtown Riverside's redevelopment.